I am. We had Cannon, who was supposed to teach today, but he had a last minute buyer from out of town flying in to see a handful of houses this morning. So I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good reason not to come. So I'm going to teach, but we are talking about one of the most important things that one of the most important skills that is not like a sales skill that you will need in real estate, which is CMAs, comparative market analysis. So, by the way, as you're talking to people, we will use this word, a CMA, and I think it's dumb to use that word because no one knows what that means. And so the other word we always use are comps, like comparable houses. We call them comps. I also think that that's a bad word to use because no one knows what you're talking about. When you're like, yeah, I'll just do a CMA, I'll pull up a whole bunch of comps and keep you posted. And they're going to be like, I don't know what you just said. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a CMA today and pull up a whole bunch of comps and go from there. But we are not going to use those words when we talk to people. They're homes similar to yours or comparable houses, things like that. So I want to talk about a couple ways to do this. And I'm going to do really, really dumb examples, and then we're going to actually do an example together. So um, the MLS actually will do some of this for you, um, but there's a flaw with it, and I'll show you as we get going. So imagine here that we have a little chart. The whole idea of our CMA, right, is we want to compare apples to apples. So even before this, let me take a step back. Like, how much is a house worth? And it all comes down to what someone is willing to pay for it. And so the way that we're going to judge this is based off of all of the other houses that are selling. The problem is most houses aren't the exact same. Sometimes you get lucky. Like if you sell a condo that's right back here and it's like we're a ground level unit and then the building right next to it, a ground level unit sells yesterday, you're gonna be like, that's what your house is worth because that's what someone just paid for it. So chances are there's going to be another person willing to pay that exact same amount. They're the same size, the same finishes, the same everything. The second that you start to get more complicated, everything changes. So like if you're selling one of these condos and it's a top level unit, but a bottom level unit sells, what's the price difference on those? I don't know. Something, maybe nothing. But like I would rather live on the ground floor rather than the top because I don't want to do all those stairs with my groceries. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to live on the bottom because then I can hear the people above me. So maybe they level out. I don't know. And then if nothing else is sold in that unit, but then you are like, oh, but a little bit further back behind, how there's all those other condos behind that, but they're just like a decade older. So they're older. So is that's worse, but by how much in dollar amounts? Or we could compare like over in Vineyard, technically that's a whole different city than we are here. How does that compare? Would you rather live in Vineyard closer to the lake or right here closer to the freeway? Who knows? And so that's why this gets difficult because we were just talking condos. Now let's talk houses where you're unique and you have a different size lot than everyone else and your house is different. And so it's never like an apples to apples comparison. It's more like a Gala apple to a Red Delicious to a Pink Lady type apple, kind of an idea. And everyone knows Pink Ladies are the best apples, right? Red Delicious are the worst. um, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the most similar, the closest buy that just sold the most recently. That's the whole goal. Short of that, we are just going to build out variables. So the way that some people do this, and Tannen is one of these who was going to teach this class, he likes to use like dollar figures. So for example, if we find a 3-bedroom home and we're comparing it to our 4-bedroom home, he'll say, well, that bedroom is worth $5,000. I'm making up a number. Don't write that down. And so we are going to be worth $5,000 more because we have an extra bedroom and they don't. But I don't know what numbers like that mean. You know, like in our condo example, if the condo is 10 years older than ours, how much dollars is that worth per year? And I don't know. And what about a square foot? How about a bedroom? How about a bathroom? You can't just add another bedroom to a condo. So can you add just 5 or 10 grand to it? Like, I don't know. None of that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of them kind of mapped out, and we're going to look at a few important things. So the house that we're doing the CMA on, they call it the subject property. Okay. And again, this is the oversimplified version. And so we're going to try to find a couple of comps, and we're going to compare them, right? And so we're going to I like to look at things like beds, bath, square footage, acres, we can go back down through all of them. And then there's going to be some sort of price that they were sold for. So we could say like, okay, we're a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath on 2,500 square feet on 0.2 acres. Like that could be our made up property. Then we might have another one that's like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath and 2,200 square feet on 0.25. And that one is sold, I'm making up numbers. Let's call it 505. Ooh, those are fives. Just trust in that. For some reason, when I go sideways, I can't. And maybe this one, we also find a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's 2,650 and 0.18. And maybe that one sold for 510. I'm a 0 short. So this is what we're going to do. And so then we're going to look at this and be like, okay, well, this one is a bedroom worse than us. It's 300 square feet smaller, but it's got a little bit bigger yard. And so that's going to all do something with the price. This one, 4 bedrooms, same bath, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller yard. You probably wouldn't even realize that that's different. So that's a price. And so then that is going to give us our price that we should list it at. Now, this seems very scientific and very mathematical. It is not. Okay, there is an art of CMA. So get ready to do the art because everyone's going to come up with different numbers. And if I made each of you do a CMA, you will all come up with a different number. But I want to walk through a couple of scenarios with me. Okay, so you guys are now the market experts. And let's pretend that this house, that our made up scenario, is actually worth, let's say it's 520. Okay. What would happen in the scenario that I list it at 530? What happens? Yeah. If you guys had buyers, would you go to a house at 530? This house, if everything else was lower, different. Yeah, maybe just to be like, we're gonna offer lower than this, but you're not gonna do that. What if I listed it at 550 and it's really worth 520? Yeah, you're gonna be like, they're out. They're crazy. All right, let's go crazy now. What if I listed it for 480? So I'm 40 grand lower than what this hypothetical value should be. What would happen there? Yeah. Yeah. How excited would you be if you're like, I think this is worth 520. I am 100% going to buy this house. And then you're going to put in an offer at 480 because that's what it's listed at. And then everyone else is going to be putting in offers. And then me as the agent, I'm going to call all of you and say, please send your highest and best offer. And what would you be willing to pay? Probably up to the market value. So if you list too high, I don't get any showings and I have to systematically lower the price until we're at the market value. If I list too low, everyone's going to bid it up and I'm going to end up at market value. What happens if I list it at market value? It will probably sell. So even though you can go very wrong, it's hard to go wrong. There's a few things that you need to know. Number one is you should always have a plan with your sellers if we messed up too high. So that plan is every 3 weeks, we're going to do this analysis and double check how we did with the price. We'll look at the information that we know because the market's always changing, right? Would you rather buy a house in December or in April? I would.
December.
You would do it December. I don't want to move in December. So you think you'd get a better deal. So you might buy a house in December. I'm not moving in the winter. I did it one time in an apartment. It was literally 10 degrees as I was moving, and it was the most miserable thing ever. Yeah, I moved in July and it was 95 degrees. And that was a different kind of miserable, and I would rather do that every day of the week than to move in 10-degree weather. I don't know. This winter would have been fine. You could have moved any day. So, where was I going with this? Oh, every 3 weeks, the market has changed. So we're going to look at the information, like there might be more under contracts, more sold, whatever. And we know what the market did, right? If we don't know, like if we listed at 520 thinking that that was the market value and no one showed up, the market rejected our value. They said, we see what you're listed for and we don't like your pictures and the price put together enough to go walk through your house. It's not calling to us. So we are too high and we need to come down. And then how down we move depends on the rest of the market and what we're doing and how urgent your sellers are. So I always say every 3 weeks, sellers, we're going to talk and we're going to make a game plan to see should we continue on this price or if we need to do a price adjustment or enhancement. Yes.
It's the seller who's making the price.
Yes. Ooh, I'm glad you're making this point. Yes.
Texas 2 years ago, and she's like, "This is what it is." So you get to choose one.
Yes.
As a seller, I wanted the highest price, but I did have to bring that.
Yeah. So that's the other fail safe in this whole thing is you actually don't pick the price. The seller does. So typically when I do a CMA, I have an idea in my mind of what I want this house to be priced at. And usually it's a small little range. And then I'm going to present the data and let the sellers pick. If they're way too high, I'm going to make them justify it to me based off of the comps because we have to sell it to the buyers, the agent, and then an appraiser. The buyers and the agent might be a little more like emotionally driven. The appraiser is not. So he's going to look at things like this because we didn't even talk about finishes, right? Maybe this number one property is super nice and this number two property is super ghetto. And those would have factors in how well that we would sell. But an appraiser is going to look at more like this. They all have 4 bedrooms. That one has a smaller bath, so I'm going to take some money off of that. That one has smaller, so they do adjustments like that. So the way that I do my CMAs is more shoot from the hip kind of an idea. And we're going to run one right now. You guys ready for that? Okay. So we're going to practice on real properties. I'm going to bring this over so I can stand. So we're going to do a real property. Yes.
The presentation showing up in person can block it.
Yep. So typically, I will pull all the comps, have a very good idea, and then take those, print it off. I put them in a little folder and take them to the listing presentation. Which are we doing that Wednesday? I don't need a guess. I have a spreadsheet with the calendar. So on Wednesday. Ooh, don't miss this one. Wait, when's your test? Oh, Clay Winder is like one of the top listing agents here. He probably lists and sells more houses than almost anyone else in the brokerage. He's been doing it for like 15, 20 years, something like that. And he is really good. Okay. Yeah, so I have all of these comps, and then my listing presentation, actually, I stole all of mine from Clay. So it's it's like, let's go all the way through everything. And then I say, as long as we can agree on a price, are you ready to list it with me? And they say, yep. And then I pull out this CMA. Oh, let me share my screen here with the Zoom. Where are you, Zoom? Okay. Let's just hide things. Hide video. Okay. Welcome to the MLS. For those who do not have access to it yet. It's real ugly. It's not user friendly. I'm going to run probably too quickly through everything. So if you're like, this is too fast, one, I'm recording this so you can go back and watch it on YouTube. The other thing is if you click this help tag, there's like this whole support center and they have articles and videos on everything. So if you're like, oh, how did he do the CMA? Well, here's a whole bunch of videos on how to do this. So we're going to create the CMA on the MLS, utahrealestate.com. When I present this, I actually do it through Cloud CMA, but I don't like how Cloud CMA pulls the comps. I like more control over it. So that's how we're going to do it. So anyway, that's in the help tab. So who has a house that they want to know what it's worth? If you guys don't, I have random houses that Okay, we're gonna do a random house right now. So I have this client, his name is Mark. He has a house. He doesn't know if he wants to sell it before he buys his next one. He might keep it as a rental. So like price matters because if he can get a ton of money for it, maybe that makes sense to roll all into his next property. Or maybe it makes sense to keep because he's like, look at how much equity I have. This is awesome. So, spoiler alert, I don't even know his address. All I know is his name and his wife's name. So we have to find his house. So congratulations, you guys all became detectives because you're real estate agents. So we're going to find this. We're going to start with public data to try to find stuff. So if you hover over the search, there's like different columns in all of the searches. Typically, we're going to just be doing residential things, but we're going to go down here to this tax data search. So you can search anyone's name, address, street, whatever, and then so I know he lives, I think it's in Provo. I should actually look up how to spell his last name. All right, Mark with an O. So his name is Mark with a C. So I think we can find it. Nelson. So boom, I searched Mark. There's only these few in Utah County. So real easy. I know his wife's name is Shelby. So I just found their house. So this is the tax data. It is very ugly, not user-friendly, and every time I look at this, I don't know where all of the information is. But we can play around with this to really see things. So, okay, Market Shelby, it's owner occupied. Here's their address in Orem, not Provo like I thought. They have an assessed value of things. Ooh, lot number. Oh no, that's lot number. Then we can see some information about the house. There's 4 bedrooms. It was built in 1996. I don't know why we're doing this one. This one's going to be a weird one. I already know it because I've done this before. It's been a minute. Little over 2,100 square feet, 2 stories, attached garage.
Is this a set value as of like 2026?
Probably not.
Right.
I don't know when. 25. So this assessed value, this is what they use on their taxes. So if your value is too high, you pay too much on taxes. So this is something that you can do is actually try to complain to the city, the county, I guess, that your assessed value is too high and then you'll pay less in taxes. So typically, homes are worth more than the assessed value. So that's kind of like if we're going to do this and we come to the value of like 500, somehow the county thought that they were worth 550 or 549, 700. So they paid too much taxes. if that was the case. So we're going to go through and see what we think.
Look through this and see if there's something incorrect with this slide.
That happens all the time. Things are often wrong on this. Like even mine, if you look me up, I finished my basement. I have a whole basement, bathroom and bedroom and bathroom downstairs. It's not even counted. I don't even think it counts my basement in my square footage on the county, which I'm okay with because then as the county goes to assess it, I have less taxes because I think I have less bedrooms, less bathrooms, less square footage. So I'm good with that. But I think you can just reach out to the county assessor and update things, but it also doesn't matter too much unless they have things wrong, you know? Like if they're like, you live in a 6,000 square foot house, I'm like, it's 3,000. Then I'd want to call them and be like, you got this wrong. Then they also have this transaction, so the recorder's data. So we can see a few things here. So July 1st, 2020, they did a warranty deed. It was a resale purchase money loan. I don't know. So they got a loan from a mortgage company for $332,405, and it was a new conventional. So this is probably when they bought their house, and they probably bought it. Yep, here from John Zimmerman. So we can see, okay, they bought their house, and their loan was $332,000. I use things like this all of the time because we know July 2020 and the loan amount. Most people don't pay more than their payment, their minimum payment. So if we wanted to, we could even guess and say, okay, what was the, usually do this in chat GPT. I want to call this mortgage interest rate in July 2020.
Is that the 2%?
So they probably have a rate around 3%. So now I can just kind of guess, okay, 3%. And then we can say, how about like, oh. So we just make AI do this, assuming that we've been making payments. So 290. So I know about what they owe, right? They could, and I could be way off, right? They could have a worse interest rate. They could have a way better interest rate. They could be paying down extra. They could put lump sums down. So it's not a great, but I at least know what we're working with, like 290. And this is all public information, by the way. You can do all of this. We can see everything they did. So if you refinance, it will start to say things like that. The other thing that this has, it has all the county links all the time. So if you're ever want to see like the parcel map, for example, boom, that's their map. We can even zoom out so we can see where they're at. So that's their house, that's where it is. But what we really want is this previous MLS listings because we just want to pull up an MLS listing to see the house. So they bought it for $349,900. Remember, we looked down here and we saw that they got it 332. What's the math on that? 5% probably. Yeah, because 1% would be 35. Yeah, that's probably, they probably did a 5% down loan. Look at all this information that I know. Then we can start to look at the property. So this has all of the information, and we should probably look to see what we're working with. I don't know what updates they did, because this, when it was sold, was 2020. So maybe they've updated the kitchen completely. Maybe they've done nothing with it. I would hate to have this little island thing in the middle of my kitchen. Hopefully they don't. So that doesn't look like a bedroom. What is this room? I don't know. Can you guys do me a favor? When you start posting your listings, will you make them make sense? You know, like you don't go from opening the door to the kitchen. Like you maybe like this one makes sense because you're like, oh, there's the front door. So now I'm in this room. But then like, is that this same room? I don't think so. No, it's not. And then we're back outside. It's like that should have been the front picture. So this is kind of what we're working with. Looks like it probably hasn't really been updated. Looks very 1996 to me. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Decent sized yard, nice shed, all of that. So now we're gonna go create a CMA for this. So how we do this is we're gonna take the MLS number. This is just gonna help us with everything. And let me back up. So we found this through the tax data because we didn't know where they lived. But now that we know 472, I'm just gonna copy this. Let me show you a whole another way to get this. So if you go search, full has everything that you can search for on the MLS. But we just know the address, so we're just going to search by the address. So like we could literally do any single house here. Now it defaults a whole bunch of things, so I always click clear criteria right off the bat. Then we're just going to search for the house, and we're going to give it the least amount of information as we put things in this. So we just did the house number and then the street, I always just do contains and do part of it. So now it found 7 properties that match this that have been on the MLS. But if we look at this, west and south, it all happens to be the exact same listing. So this has been on the MLS 7 different times. And I have it sorted by the MLS number, which just counts up. So this was the most recent time when they bought it in July of 2020, right? Match up with their loan. But you can see when it first did it, it expired. It didn't actually sell. They listed it, it didn't sell. Then it sold, then it sold again, then it sold. Then that person tried to list it and it expired. Then they listed and they canceled it. And then they listed it again and they sold it. I always think this is interesting when you start looking at the dates of these things. So like, let's see, 2003 and then 2018. So they're like, let's sell this thing in 2003. And then they're like, it didn't sell. And then they lived in it for 15 more years. And then they're like, we're selling this thing. And then they're like, no, it didn't sell. And then there's 2 more years before they ended up actually selling it. So originally 17 years from when they first listed it. Crazy to me. I have a sneeze and it's not coming.
The square feet off a little bit every time.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Is it coming?
The bathrooms are 2.
I wonder if they added another. They might have added one, but they shouldn't have gotten less square footage over time. That doesn't make sense to me.
It was all the same order every, like.
From this one. So from this one up. Yeah. These 2 would have been the same too.
How do you know?
Because if it expires, it means it did not sell. Yeah, so this owner listed it. And you can even click history. So this is like a in-depth. So Bill was their agent and he listed it for him. It went active. They changed the price. They did all of these things. It went under contract and then sold with Bill. And then that was in 99. Then in 2002, Donna Cross listed it and it sold 2002. Then John listed it and it sold. Oh, and then John listed it again, but then it expired. And Christopher listed it and canceled it. Then Amber listed it, or maybe Amber's assistant. There's a lot of people here from the same brokerage. And it was a homie listing. Oh, look, KW Westfield. Who is this? Christopher Francis. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So we just played on the MLS. Let's actually do a CMA. So we're gonna grab this. I'm gonna click open a new tab. For some reason, this is way better than just actually opening a new tab. I don't get it, but it is. So then we'll hover over CMA. You can do a cloud CMA, like I said, but we're gonna do this URE CMA. So it's gonna tell you this every time. It drives me nuts. It won't let me get rid of that. And then if you just click populate form, we have the MLS number or the tax ID. What this does is it's just a shortcut. Let me show you what it looks like before this. It says that we're in Utah and it's sold. It has nothing else filled out. By populating the form, this actually is going to fill out a whole bunch of information. Now we have a zip code. Now we have a style, single family, year built, square footage, all of this stuff. So it's just giving us some constraints. So a couple of things that we automatically will need to do. The first thing I always do, and usually doesn't change anything, I want the same city. Appraisers don't like to move outside of a specific city. So if you're in Orem, they want to compare it to an Orem property. They're not going to go to Provo. They're not going to go to Vineyard. They want Orem.
Sort of city, sort of municipalities, Spanish words, got Lakeshore, Edge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'm okay with some of those like smaller. Yeah, so I would start like with Lakeshore. I would start with Lakeshore, and you're gonna have to for sure expand out. Then maybe Benjamin, maybe just the zip code at that point might be a little bit better. But if you're like in Orem, probably you're gonna find something in Orem. If you're like, I wonder if this is in Delta, it's like you might have to go a little bit further, but you want like again, like the whole goal is we want the exact same property next door that sold yesterday. Short of that, we're going to expand one of those. And that's where it becomes like more of art because like, okay, if there's not the exact same property that sold yesterday, which do you change? If there's another property that sold yesterday, but it's different, is that one better than something that sold 6 months ago that's very similar? And that's where you kind of give and take something there. Next thing, for sure, the status. So we care about active, under contract, active no-show, backup, and sold. You'll notice the three that we don't care about are canceled, expired, and withdrawn. This means it did not sell and they removed it from the MLS. My house maybe is worth 700,000. I don't know. Some people say maybe more. I'm a little bit more conservative, but I'm maybe 700 for my house. If I listed it for $1 million, it would not sell. No one would buy my $1 million house because it's not $1 million house. So I would end up either canceling the listing. It would expire, meaning like the agreement that I had with the agent just expires, like the deadline comes up, or I withdraw it, which is very similar to canceled, but it's not. If a listing is withdrawn, so if I list a house and they're like, I don't want to list it anymore, but I still have my listing agreement and I want to be a jerk, I can say, great, I will withdraw it from the MLS. Technically, I still have my listing agreement and no one else can list it because I have my seller agreement with them, but they don't want to sell it. So that is a withdrawn. I still have all the rights as the agent to sell it. They don't want it on the MLS. Canceled means that I've released it. Anyone can do it, but I'm still within my my agreement time. And then expired, I don't have an agreement anymore because the date that I put on the agreement is done. So boom. So we want to do that. And then I always do, I start with the worst, which is 180 days back. Appraisers don't like to go more than 6 months. So we're going to say 180 days. So over here on the left, you'll notice that there's 476 matches. That is too many. I don't like that. So then we're going to start to tighten up everything that we're doing. So I'm going to start and just say 90 days. Let's see. Boom, we're at 290. So we're doing way better now. So now we can do some of these square footage things. Now I always forget stuff, so I never close the listing. So now I can say, okay, we're 2270 for square footage. So maybe let's just do 2070 and 2470. Do 200 bigger and smaller. So we're down to 52. Let's see acreage. We're at 0.2. It did nothing with acreage. So let's just add some acreage. 37. We're getting closer. Bless you. 4 bedrooms. Maybe let's just see 4 bedrooms. Oh, we're at 16. This is nice. It's nice when there's a lot of property to choose from. Okay. They have a 2-car garage, so let's just do that. We're at 9. So let's go with that. Let's see what these 9 look like. So we're just going to click view results. And so I use this list view sometimes, and I use this other grid view sometimes. So this is kind of nice to really see. I don't know why this is white, but it is. So we can see backup, active, under contract, active, under contract, active, active, under contract, sold. Ooh, we're not doing so hot here on our sold data. So here's how it works. Appraisers only use sold data. So we have 1 that is sold. The under contract or backup data is my next favorite because by the time that we sell, those are probably going to be closed because typically it's like 30 days that they're under contract or backup. So those are our future comps that are going to be sold here real quick. The active, this is my competition. So this is what other people in the area are listing it at. So, and then we can look at this grid view just to kind of see, like, do any of these look like us? And we have some, we're kind of all over the place with how it looks. So then we're going to have to start diving into each one of these one by one. So let's start with the sold one.
Wait,
Yes.
Wouldn't you have to go back to the drawing board a little bit more and narrow it down because you need only the sold comparables?
Yes and no.
Okay, keep going.
So, okay, yeah, so as an appraiser, they're just going to look back and be like, what just happened in the market? And, but, yeah, because we don't know what the under contract will sell for. That's the biggest problem. But we want to look forward because if I go meet with them, they want to buy a house, right? So like their exact scenario is, should we sell our house or should we keep it as a rental? And they're open to either option. It's just whatever makes the most sense. So what might happen is they go find a house that they love that's just a little bit out of their, we'll keep this as a rental type of a budget. And then we'll have to sell their house to make sure that they can do it. So I'm looking at like, what if we listed it in April or May type of an idea. So all of these under contracts will become my solds here real soon. So I'm okay with this, but in an ideal world, I'd have 3 sold, 3 under contract, and 3 actives.
Wait, so I can show that to them
Mhm.
on the contract? Oh.
Yeah, you can show them. It just
Just that
all
the appraiser wants to have.
yeah, the appraiser. So if we click on this under contract, we will see what it was listed for, the days on market, and the time under contract. We have to guess from there because we don't know what the price is from the under contract. So it was listed at, yeah. So this is 575 on the market for 11 days. The average home on the market right now is on the market for 72 days. So this was way faster. So I would imagine that they're real close to this 575 because 11 days means they're on the market for a week and a half. So that's not like a bidding war, right? We didn't price way lower, but we also didn't price higher. So it's probably like pretty close to that. And 24 days on market, we're probably about a week away from actually seeing what that is. When it does sell, it will tell us the sold price and the list price. See, but even sometimes like this is on the market for 21 days and they accepted an offer for 18 grand lower than their original list price. That seems crazy to me when the average home is on the market for 72 days and sells 3.25% below the original list price. So like 3.25% below where this sold for more. What's that, 4-5%? Anyway, so then what we're going to do is we're going to look, okay, how similar is this? So this one's a little bit smaller than us. Remember, we're 22. Is that what we were? 2270 for square footage. This is 2080, so a little bit smaller. 4 beds, 2 baths. And we are 4 beds, 4 baths. That's crazy. We have way more bathrooms. So if we started to plot this out kind of like this, we would start to see how we are very different than some of these. 0.18. So we are bigger with more bathrooms. So without even looking at the quality, are we priced more or less? More, right? Wouldn't you pay more to have 2 more bedrooms and 200 square feet more? Like, duh. So easy, we're going to be higher than this 480. So then we could click into it and kind of glance through and see what it's like. Ooh, got the tile floor everywhere. Got some shiplap. Can't miss the shiplap. Looks like they've updated their kitchen, but I don't know, their kitchen might be worse. We had a little bit bigger, but they at least have some, what probably is granite countertops. More tile, newer vanities. Ooh, wait. Is this a different kitchen? Was that a basement kitchen? Let's see. Oh yeah, so they have two kitchens. And their basement is a entrance. So you could rent this out. So a little apartment, 2-bedroom, 1-bath up and 2-bedroom, 1-bath down. Not bad. Non-conforming duplex. Sold for 480. So now we can do these similar things, but we have to make some guesstimates. Like I said, we don't know what this one sold for, but it's 575, 11 days on market. I'm assuming we're pretty close to that. And then as we look at this, a little bit bigger, we have basically one more full bath. They also have a second kitchen downstairs. And so then we could look at what it looks like. Looks like they tried to do some accents with wood. Nice kitchen with at least newer countertops or cabinets and countertops. Gosh, take this wall out. Look how big that room would be. Too bad. Yeah, but this one looks nice. So this one I would say is nicer than ours. Oh, that is, I guess that's a kitchen. Not a kitchenette. That is not much of a kitchen in my mind. But nice backyard. Then you can see the floor plans. So this one, maybe a little bit better than us for 575. Right? It was bigger and it had a kitchen, which might be better. Let's move to this next under contract. By the way, this is the best part, is you just judge other people's houses, right? So this was listed at 580, 3 days on the market and under contract. So I imagine that this is at least 580. Why would you accept an offer without being on the market for that long? So, oh, I didn't look at size. Let's start with that. So about 200 square feet bigger, has 2 less bathrooms, only 1 kitchen. That's better for us because who knows how much a kitchen costs nowadays. About the same size yard. So looks like a better layout, which an appraiser doesn't care about, by the way, but buyers do. So there are things that are like, they improve the sellability, but not the value of the house. Because like, if you walk into this house, this feels so much bigger and open and so nice. And then you go walk in a little cramped place with like a wall that divides it. And you're like, this is worse, but the square footage is the exact same. So sellability definitely helps. Interesting design choice. You just like 2 people sit here and just interview. I don't know. But nice kitchen. Ooh, they did one of those double island type things. You see in fancy houses. Interesting. Upgraded things. So this one's definitely nicer than us. Ooh, 3 people will have to sleep in that room. Nice basement, good storage. Backyard shed, looks like a nice backyard. Okay, so this one's nicer than us and a little bit bigger. Okay, are you taking all this in, remembering all of these? Backup. So backup offer is basically they've accepted an offer and they're willing to keep showing it. So the days on market continues to go up while you were in backup status. So I don't know why you put things in backup status because it makes it seem like you're still on the market. But when I see backup, I think, oh, this is under contract. I'm not going to go show this because it is under contract. They're just willing to accept more offers. So I'm not a fan of backup. But you'll see that it's been on the market for 16 days. We can click into the history and actually see when it went under backup, which was 5 days ago. So 5 days that it's been under contract. So like 11 days. So all of these numbers that we're just throwing out kind of matter. You'll notice everything that has an offer has been really low on the days on market. I said 72 is on average. I have said like 11 3 times with this. So I imagine if we need to sell this house, someone wants to move in because we're like 11 days on market. That is great. The whole market kind of sucks with 72. This little subset of Orem with these houses, 11-ish days seems to be pretty average for what we're seeing. 565, it got an offer real quick. 2148, so real similar in size, 0.22 acres, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. Ooh, this is sounding just like us, right? Let's see what it looks like. I mean, it's definitely a different layout and it's on a hill and stuff like that. Got a hot tub in the back, which doesn't actually add value, believe it or not. Yeah, you would think it would. Yeah. It's got solar on it. What do you guys think? Does solar add value or no? What if a solar guy knocked on your door? What would he say? 100%. As a real estate agent, it depends. If no one else has solar, why would your house be way more valuable than everyone else? Like all of the comps sell for this, like your solar's just like an extra thing that you have. If you have 2 subsets of comps, one that has like a handful that have solar and a handful that don't, use the ones that have solar because they also have solar. Sometimes they're bad because if you don't have your solar panels paid off, that has to be part of the whole loan process, right? You have to pay off your solar panels when you sell, or your new buyers have to take over a loan or something like that. So it gets kind of harder. But then you don't pay as much in electricity, so they're great. I'm worried about the inside of this house. Look at how many exterior pictures we've seen so far. We haven't even seen inside. Okay, here's what we're working with. 1990s tile, older carpet, got the wood railing. Classic tri-level house here. Ooh, you got an extra random stair right there. I don't know why they did things like this. Like, was the builder like, I wish people would just fall more. Let's put a stair right here. Yeah. So this one seems very similar-ish to us, right? Similar type of finishes, a little bit older, could use some work, but it's not in bad shape. Just looks like it hasn't been updated. By the way, a door right here is a worst idea. Can I tell you that? I have a house like this. But when you move the door over here, then you can have this whole room right here. You can't put anything against the wall because of the stupid door. Yeah. My door is in my kitchen, which is better and worse. All right, we got, I don't know if it's just the pictures that make the carpet look like they could use a little bit of work. Got a 3/4 bath there. This one seems very similar to us. Bunch of bathrooms, bunch of rooms. We could look at the layout and see. And this one, it's under contract, probably will close. Oh, contract date, we could have looked right there. Probably close late April. Okay. So if you guys were going to put a value on this house, what are we thinking? So we got 565 is the very similar one. We don't know what it's sold for. We got 480 as this one that wasn't great and smaller. 475 that was with another kitchen. Where was the other under contract? And 580 that had another kitchen as well. What's your gut telling you? We're shooting from the hip right now.
Big 565.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. Yeah, this backup is making me feel 565, right?
Yeah.
So easy. So this is what's in our mind when we go to the listing appointment. Okay, 565. That's what we're gonna do. If they come in and be like, oh, well, this one that you showed me is 580. We feel like we have a nicer house than that. People always think their houses are nicer. I don't know why. I don't think my house is nice. Like when I look at my house, I'm like, my house is worse than the general public. But other people are like, mine is so great. I'm like, nope, I see all my flaws. Um, so they're like, I feel like I'm 580. There's two paths that you can take. Like, okay, let's try 580. And then if we don't get enough, any bites, we're 3 weeks away. We need to lower the price and we'll do a big one at 15 grand and get down to the price we wanted to originally list at. The other option is like, okay, now I need you to talk to me like I'm an appraiser. Here's all the comps that I brought to you. Prove it to me that this is like that. And then if they can't, if they're like, oh, well, this 580, it's got an extra kitchen, but ours is nice. It's like, well, that's an extra kitchen. Like it will cost you 15 grand to put a kitchen in. This one's 575, but with an extra kitchen. Like, oh, getting 15 grand. I don't know. I made that up, but it sounds nice because we're 15 grand lower and they both have kitchens. So I would guess that that's how much a kitchen costs. So we just came up with the value here. Was this hard? It's both time consuming and then you can get faster at it, but you can take more time and get better at it. So there's one step that I always have because we came up with this idea of 565, but we're kind of looking back. Even though we included some under contracts, we want to look into the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one more search. Let's even throw up a new tab. We're going to do a full search. So we're no longer thinking like sellers. We're thinking like buyers. So imagine you're a buyer's agent and where'd the house go? And this is the house. 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2,200 square feet, 2-car garage, 0.2 acres. Who's going to buy this house? Like, tell me about the people that will buy the house. By the way, you can't technically do this because of fair housing and all of this stuff, but we can make some guesstimates about the people that will buy this house, right? Is a family going to buy this house? Probably. Could an investor buy this house? Yes. We're not saying that they can't. And maybe like, could a single dude? Yes. Might be a great, like, live in one room, got 3 other bedrooms. They each have a bathroom somehow. Like, that could be a great, like, single dude house. But probably a family is going to buy it, right? Statistically, Utah, all of that. So let's go find a buyer that would be like this, right? Probably like this family, like imagine, like make up a person in your house, in your head that would buy this property. And then we're going to go build a search on what else they would buy. So we're 565. So we're probably not going to go lower than like, I don't know, 525 sounds good. Probably not higher than 600, right? If you buy a 565 house, you're not looking at homes over 600. That might even be a stretch. We know that this is a single family, so we're buying a single family. Our pretend buyer is buying a single family house. And then we're just going to go through and start filling these things. You'll notice I chose active as the status, right? We're buying this house. So these people, what else do we want? Oh, ooh, do we have an HOA? No HOA. So maybe someone that hates HOAs right now. Probably have to do an area. So, okay, if you're going to buy an Orem, where else would you buy? Provo, Vineyard. You'd probably go up to Pleasant Grove, right? Linden. We could have drawn this on a map. Oh, AF is actually American born. What else? You might go down to Mapleton, right? Would you go down to Spanish Fork? Maybe. Payson might be a little far. All right. We're 47 houses still. So, okay. Year built. This is like older, but not new. So, we're going to definitely just exclude the new houses. Let's do 2024. So not new. We need at least 2,000. Let's not do square footage. Let's just do, we need a garage. Sure need a garage because that's important to us. We want a little bit of land. And then, okay, bedrooms. Let's say we need 3. And bathrooms 3. Okay, we have 8 properties for our fake buyers to go see. So we can kind of glance through, and we don't have to do this for very long, but you can look through and be like, okay, if someone was listed at 565, what else would they go see, right? If you scheduled 3 showings, or 4 showings, one was our house and the other 3 were other houses, which would you go see and how do we stack up? You know, like this 580, right? Is that close to our price? And then how does this stack up against us? Which would you rather have? Because a buyer is going to walk through a couple of houses and then they're going to pick one of them. Like that is literally what happens, but it's usually like 3 or 4 at a time. And it's like, which was the best out of this day? That one. Which was the best day out of this day? That one. And that was the kind of thing. And this one's so good that I think we can buy it. We've seen 9 houses now, and this is the best one. Or we've seen 4 houses now, and this is the one. What's going on with these stairs? I cannot decide. Is it wood that they like? I don't know. So are we going to lose to those stairs or not? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look through the buyer's lens to validate our price. You'll notice that a lot of these that we were looking at were a lot lower, right? If we just even like came over here and clicked on the list price, we have 525, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,100 square feet. Like that's almost what we're working with. And so this is a whole nother house that we are competing against, but they are now 40 grand lower than we just guessed. And so are we 40 grand better than them? Because they might get the offer when we don't. This is interesting. They put a sheet right there. That is, take that down for photos. Just take it down.
This one's up.
What is going on? Where did we go? Is this the front room? Is this where you walk? This is where you walk into the gamer room. That has to be a gamer, right? Why else do you have one chair that close to a TV? Yeah. So this is a potential house that someone would walk through when they walk through ours. And so are we going to be that much better? Now, area and all of that matter, right? So maybe this is a busy street or whatever, or a bad neighborhood. It doesn't look bad at all, but all of that factors into it. And again, all of this is shooting from the hip because the thing that's going to save us is how do we do when we're on the market? So, we'll just get rid of those. What was this one? Was this our actual CMA? Yes. So here is our real CMA. So how I present this to people is if you select all of these, you can like pick and choose and take some out. Doesn't really matter. And then if you click this view reports, there's 2 different ways. There's the CMA report, and then there's the cloud CMA. The cloud CMA, go play around with this on your own when you guys have it. It is a digital view. So you can like, it creates a website basically that you like go to this website and they can see all of these comps and stuff. So it's great. But so if we click on this CMA report, what it's going to do is exactly like we did here. So it's going to pull up our subject property and then it will list out each of the properties side by side and give us all of the details. Now, if we were really smart and we knew how much each thing affected value, we could choose and create some sort of a template. And this template would say, okay, well, you have a bedroom and each bedroom is worth $5,000. So then, well, that was a bad example. How about, wait, how do I wanna, this is what I want. Okay, so we populated the subject data. So like, okay, maybe a bathroom is worth 3,000. Again, I'm making these numbers up. But so then what it's going to do is this one only has 2 bathrooms. So this is $6,000 worse. $6,000 worse. And it's going through and assigning that to all of them. Maybe a quarter bath is 2,500, half bath is 2,000. And so that would, now all of a sudden that's 2,500 better, even though it's a negative number. Because it's trying to do calculations. And if you did this with all of them, then it would spit out an adjusted value here and tell us what we should list at based on all of this data that we input here. And so funny that it came out with 565 when we just added some numbers here. So, oh, no, that's the first property, 565. And so it would say we list at 553, 986. If you listed at that property at that price, someone would say you're done. Because that's a weird price to list at. Do even numbers. Psychology doesn't matter. So then from here, we can create a CMA packet. Sometimes I will do this, other times I will do Cloud CMA. I default to both because I don't know what's going to go on. And so then it has this whole little cover sheet. You can click on any of these. It's got the full comp details, so we can see all of the details on all of the properties. So this is what I would print out. So as I'm doing it, I like the full comp details. I like is it the summary analysis? Yes, that's the one I like. Summary analysis. So we can kind of just get a glance like, okay, here's our best, here's our worst from the active, under contract, backup, and sold. And then it gives us some high level stats of what we're doing. So we can do this. I also like to do the map report because this will tell us like where these properties are. Like we're right here. How far away? None of these are in our neighborhood. Which reminds me, you should do that search before you go as well. So I think I can do it with this. So before you go, you should always do a search. And we're just going to see active undercon. We're going to do almost like the same CMA. And if you click view map, we can, well, it'll just say jump. So we can do that radius. I actually want to clear that section. I can't see on this screen, but let's just assume that this is their neighborhood. Oh. And so, boom, they have a 532. That one's further away than their real house. But we could see, okay, what did their actual neighborhood do? Because that's what they know about. They are probably looking at their neighbors, talking to their neighbors, seeing what they list for and things like that. So they will probably know exactly like the timeline of this, especially if they're trying to sell. Further things out like this, maybe it won't, but every once in a while you'll find like, oh, hey, my CMA didn't find this property. Why not? Like 532, 5 beds, 2 baths, 2,200 square feet. Like that doesn't sound too different from our property. But we had just narrowed the results so much that we missed their neighbor. And that's where it becomes this art. So now it's like, oh, 532, like hopefully you suck. And it's just fine. Don't like the painting. Seems older. But nothing looks bad about it. And so that one's sold for 532 with $8,000 in concessions after 29 days. So is this going to affect us? Yes. So
So you're saying it, our 265 number could slightly come down?
maybe. How close is this to us? Well, I can't see anything. Do you guys see? Is it just my angle or it's the lighting?
I think.
Pretty faint. I think this is on the same street, right? What are we? Are we 1680? Yeah, 472 south, and that was 1413 west. Wait, what? Oh, 472 west. And this is 413. So this is like across the street, a couple houses. So they're just down the street for us from us selling at 532. So now our 565 doesn't look so great.
Started at 5.
Yep. Now, were they desperate? Maybe. But now they're a comp, but they're a little bit different, you know, another bedroom, way fewer bathrooms. Is that a good or a bad thing? Both. You can throw another kid in there, but then they have to share more bathrooms. And like how it's laid out, 3 bedrooms up, 2 bedrooms down, like maybe that's not as family friendly for our ideal person that, or our likely person that's coming here. Would an investor like this? Like, yeah, maybe they could, they have a daylight basement, so it might be really easy to add a entrance and throw a kitchen down there. Like that could potentially be a thing. Like there's a whole bunch of options for this. So, this one might bring us down. Makes me a little more nervous, and I'm thinking maybe we go 560 now. With all of this, so pricing is 100% made up at every level. The other day, Novalie in our office, she had 2 appraisals done on her son's house. He's like going through a divorce, and they're trying to decide, do we sell it, or does like one of the spouses buy the other one out, kind of a thing. And so each spouse hired an appraiser to go through and do the appraisal. And I was like, ooh, this will be fun. I'm going to throw this out to all of the new agents. I said, new agents, we have this weird situation that's going on. We're going to get 2 appraisals. I want you to all do a CMA and think to see what it's worth. The CMAs, everyone was kind of all over the place. And then the appraisers were $50,000 off from each other. Like they weren't even in the same ballpark. This was like a $500,000 or $600,000 house. So like 50 grand is like 10% of this house. It was a big deal. And both the appraisers would probably stand by everything that they said. Like this is the actual price and all of that stuff. And it's like, but how can you both be right? So someone's wrong. And it's the same idea. So as you're doing this from your seller's point of view, remember, you want the best for your seller, which is the most amount of money in their ideal time frame. So does that mean like price low and get multiple offers or hope for that? Or does that mean price high and systematically come down? If you price too high, typically you have to wait for the market to come up. If you get too many days on market, every buyer's agent's going to be like, what's wrong with your house? You've been on the market for 6 months. Like that's too long. And so it's better to price where you think it is and then systematically bring it down rather than like try for a crazy price and then come down. And then along that same lines, when you're a buyer, you don't need to do a full CMA, but you need to justify how you can offer the lowest price, right? Like if we listed at 565 and I found that the neighbor sold for 532, it's very easy for me as a buyer's agent to be like, hey, here's my offer of 540. It's very justified because here's a house that sold for 8 grand less than we did. So we're even higher than the recent sale in your neighborhood type of an idea. Yep, all the time I will. Yeah. Yeah, if I like to justify my offers. So if I'm like close to the purchase price at all, I won't say anything. If I'm like way lower, almost to the point where I think I'm going to offend them, I'm going to tell them why. Like, hey, I'm 25 grand off because of this property.
As a seller, I'd appreciate that,
Yeah.
but that's expensive.
Yeah. And that's what happens is most sellers get offended when you have a like a low ball offer and then they shut down and they're like, screw them. We're going to counter them, but counter higher than the purchase price. And you're like, okay, well, that's not going to work. But if the listing agent was like, hey, they offered this, but it's because of this, then the both the listing agent and the seller start to question their price. Like, did we mess up on our CMA and we should have probably been at 540? And all of a sudden you're sounding great. So, okay. Who has the MLS? Matt, are you the only one? Did you even get it yet?
Yes.
Okay. Then Matt has homework and the rest of you don't. The homework is I want you to go do a valuation for someone, a real person. When you guys get to MLS, you have to do the same thing. Pick one person that you know and do the value of their house and then send them a text and be like, hey, I was just doing a valuation of a house nearby you and I figured I'd do yours. And I think you could sell your house right now for about this much money. And then that's all you send to them. There has been times in the past where people have been like, I didn't know I could sell for this much. I hate my house. Let's sell it. Like those are real conversations that people end up having. So, Matt, you're the only one that's official and has your license here and has the MLS. So you get to do that. So the more you can do this, the better. But this is a practice type activity, right? Because, like I said, it's an art. If we went back to wherever our CMA was, this one might have been it. And we tweak a few things like add a third car garage, do less square footage, more square footage, like all of that. We could have found completely different results here. So it's almost like we're going to figure out what's the closest, most similar property. Then we're going to try to justify that with what's on the market. Then we're going to just validate that we didn't miss anything in the neighborhood that the sellers might know about so we don't look dumb. And then we roll the dice and list it. If we're wrong, we're going to adjust over time. It's the game plan.
Let's say, build this out, let's send it, so. Maybe it's not super interesting in these first 2 weeks, but maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks out, start seeing interesting. The market's changed. What would be the interval in 2 weeks you may want to?
Yeah, so it all depends for me. I have this rule of thumb, and now this is 100% made up, but it just makes me feel good that I have a plan. I want to get 10 showings over some span of time, and that changes with how the market's doing. I think after 10 showings, you should have an offer, and if you don't, there's something wrong. Like people are walking through, and there's some sort of disconnect. Like 10 showings is enough to get an offer. And if you walked in and you're like, I'm not going to make an offer because, like, how do you finish that sentence? Is there something in the house, or they think it looks nice online, but then they go and it's not as nice, or everything else on the market is nicer than yours, and so you always come in second or third place, whatever that looks like. It should be like within 10 showings, you should get an offer. Some people just won't buy your house because it won't work out. Weird layout, they don't like this. They're not willing to replace carpet. They don't like your paint choices. Like some things could be dumb, some could be validated. So if you're getting 10 showings and no offers, you're overpriced. If you're not getting showings, you're overpriced. And right now with the average market, 72 days, like that 10 showings, I would probably want it in like maybe a month, month and a half kind of an idea. And then that would change. Like, if the market, like in 2021, if I didn't get 10 showings my first weekend, I did something wrong. Like that was how it is. When I first started in 2013, we wanted 10 showings in 3 weeks because we were like 3 to 5 weeks days on market. So that's kind of what we did. But typically when you list your house, you should get a showing or two the first weekend, and then hopefully one or two every single week. And then if you're 4 weeks in and don't have an offer, you're probably wrong. If you're 3 weeks in and don't have a showing, you're wrong. Yeah. The secret is the way to sell houses is to put them on the MLS. It gets the most amount of views because of the MLS. We syndicate out to hundreds of thousands of websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Trulia, like all the big ones. Then you have every single real estate agent that has a website in Utah also has these. So like literally everywhere you can find houses, you can find it because of the MLS. So if you're not getting showings, that's usually the reason you're priced wrong. So some people are going to be like, I need this house sold. And it will be like 1 week in, we didn't get 3 showings, so we're overpriced. And other times people will be like, well, we got a showing this week. That was great. Either way, you should talk to your sellers every single week about how things are going and make sure you're on pace.
This is how much I think you must sort of do.
It only is in Utah, and it's only in like our area. So our MLS is actually most of Utah. It's not so great in St. George because they have their own MLS. Park City also has its own MLS, but we cover most of Park City. Like everyone in Park City is like, well, put it on Utah Real Estate. So it's typically it's the Wasatch Front is how they do it. And then they're trying to just take over, and it would be so nice if it was all of Utah, because then it's just like, I don't know why that's not a thing. Because our website is actually better than Park City's or St. George's. So like I think their agents would be happy to come to this too. But they make money from it. Yeah. 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 Because we as real estate agents pay money for the MLS, which the MLS is owned by the boards. So Utah County, Salt Lake County, Davis, and Weber County all own part of it. So that's how they make some money. But then I don't know what they do that because we also pay dues to them. So they get money that way. I don't know what they do with all our money. Good things is what I'm told. So yeah. If you are not licensed, you should start to think like a normal buyer or seller and try to go see how you would get your home's value. Because people that want to sell a house or are thinking to buy a house, they will try to find value some way. And so try this and see what you come up with. Like go to Zillow, they have an Zestimate type of an idea. Most websites have some sort of variation of this. Your buyers and sellers are using this. Ask ChatGPT what it thinks your house is worth because they are using this. So go play around and figure out how people are doing this. And then when you get your MLS, you can do a real CMA and then compare that.
This is something like this. And 12 hours just digging.
Yeah, oh, you could dig like crazy. The more knowledgeable you are in the market, the faster that it goes. So if you're looking at homes every day, what's coming on the market, things like that, you can start to be like, whoa, this seems weird that this is on the market for this. So like start looking at houses all the time. And you can do that even without the MLS because you can just go to Zillow or homes.com or something like that, look at homes, and that will help you know what's on the market and what's weird and what's not. Past that, I usually plan like an hour to do a good CMA because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Like I can get a rough estimate in like 10 or 15 minutes, but then I want to do all the digging. Like, okay, like which are the ones that sold for higher and why? Which ones sold for lower and why? And how do we avoid that lower end and be that higher end? What am I missing? What's out there? And all of that stuff. So. Okay, any other questions? Okay.